Hey everyone, Salmi Khan here with your Fox 10 News Now update. Happy Tuesday morning, or should I just call it GOP debate day? That seems to be the thing that everybody is talking about tonight. Round 4 of the GOP debates, GOP presidential candidates. This time, what makes it different is that there's only the top 8 candidates on the main stage. Yes, Chris Christie and Mike Huckabee will not be up there, unlike the previous debates where they were both on the stage. So that will be interesting in and of itself. Plus, George Pataki and Lindsey Graham not even making the preview of the debate, the junior debate, the happy hour debate, the earlier debate, whatever you want to call it. So with that said, Steve Kraft is actually in Milwaukee. He will be FaceTiming with us live a little bit later on. Plus, we'll be getting Ron Hoon up here, and I have many clips of various presidential candidates speaking with Fox News. So we'll play some of those as well, so you have a full preview. Plus, I'm getting a live feed in now. I believe it's South Carolina, where Vice President Joe Biden will be speaking any minute. We have this live look here, and when Joe Biden gets on stage, we'll be taking you live to South Carolina. In the meantime, though, let's go ahead and watch a couple stories sent to us from Fox National. Let's start with this one from last night. Joel Wallman sends this as a preview to the GOP debate. We have one sent to us from him last night, and then we have another one sent to us this morning.
Just about a year away from the general election, and the Republican field remains crowded, with the candidates looking to separate themselves from the pack at tomorrow night's GOP debate. The Republican field is hammering Ben Carson after the retired neurosurgeon was forced to walk back a claim that he was offered a full scholarship to West Point. Carson, still at the top of the polls along with Donald Trump, now says he was told he could get in but never actually applied. His GOP rivals are scrambling to take advantage of the controversy, emphasizing their own stories as well on the campaign trail.
This is the nation that literally changed the very history of my family. I'm joined here today actually by my sisters, so they know the story. They can confirm what I'm about to tell you.
Carson fired back, telling the Fox Business Network he's being subjected to unfair scrutiny and criticism over what he describes as a slip in memory.
Honestly, it's 45 to 50 years ago, so I can't remember every single detail about it.
Meanwhile, other candidates are trying to rally their own backers. Jeb Bush holding an event in Wisconsin with Governor Scott Walker, the former Florida governor, hoping for a breakout moment tomorrow night, telling supporters they've asked him better questions than he's gotten at the debate so far.
They're better than the moderated debate questions that existed. Just saying.
Carson's campaign says despite the controversy, they've seen a big increase in fundraising over the last few days. Meanwhile, the early debate begins tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, with the main debate at 9 p.m., both on the Fox Business Network. In Milwaukee, Joel Waldman, Fox News.
And just for some clarification, again, Joel Wallman sending us that story last night, which is why he said tomorrow. Don't be confused, the debate is tonight.
Just
The stakes are high for these Republican presidential candidates as they face off for the 4th time this campaign season.
You will put them to the test, and it will be exciting, and it will be, dare I say, substantive.
The stage is set in Milwaukee ahead of tonight's GOP debate hosted by the Fox Business Network. The top 8 candidates will take part in the main event, while 4 others, including New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, will be in the so-called undercard debate.
I think debates are like a sugar high. You know, if you do well, they come up, but if you don't have any substance underneath it, you drop back down.
Frontrunners Donald Trump and Ben Carson are once again expected to attract the most attention.
It's going to be interesting to see how Ben Carson, who has basically just had this irresistible rise so far, how he reacts to the rather wobbly week he's had with these accusations from Politico and co.
Meantime, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who has seen his poll numbers climb in recent weeks, says he's ready for tonight.
I'm confident simply because I know what I believe in. We have a strong policy positions on virtually every major issue before the country.
And Jeb Bush is hoping to rebound from his last debate performance.
After the disastrous performance in the previous debate, the threshold for success for him is basically to be alive, to not fall down. These things would be considered good.
Both debates will air tonight on Fox Business Network. In Milwaukee, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump held a rally in Springfield last night. Here are some highlights.
You probably saw Saturday Night Live. Did anybody watch? Yeah. So they set a tremendous ratings. I mean, the ratings were like through the roof. You heard, right? Oh, the media was so disappointed at those ratings. They were dying to say, Trump bombs, the show was a disaster, nobody watched, but it was, even the pickets, they all left a half hour earlier. They went home to watch the show. It's true. You know what that was? I thought they were yelling in favor of Trump. Then finally I realized, not working so well, it said, feel the burn. That means Bernie. That means Bernie. All right? Now think of this. Think of this. First of all, a couple of young women took over the microphone from Bernie a month ago, right? They took it over and he was like this, huh? He is not stopping ISIS, I will tell you. And Hillary is not stopping ISIS, I can tell you that. So Hillary's running for a lot of reasons. One of them is because she wants to stay out of jail. Because I am sure, and first of all, everybody gets a fair shake with me, but I am sure whoever the Attorney General is, you got a lot of years left on that crime. That's a crime. Did you read about Starbucks? No more Merry Christmas on Starbucks. No more. I wouldn't buy. Hey, look, I'm speaking against myself. I have one of the most successful Starbucks in Trump Tower. Maybe we should boycott Starbucks. I don't know. Seriously. I don't care. By the way, that's the end of that lease, but who cares? Who cares? Who cares? But today, a big story that Starbucks is taking Merry Christmas off. No more Merry Christmas. I will tell you, lots of big things, lots of little things. You can call this anything you want. But if I become president, we're all going to be saying Merry Christmas again. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. You probably saw Saturday Night Live. Did anybody watch? Yeah. So they set a tremendous ratings. I mean, the ratings were like through the roof. You heard, right? Oh, the media was so disappointed at those ratings. They were dying to say, Trump bombs, the show was a disaster, nobody watched, but it was, even the pickets, they all left a half hour earlier. They went home to watch the show. It's true. You know what that was? I thought they were yelling in favor of Trump. Then finally I realized, not working so well, it said feel the burn. That means Bernie. That means Bernie. All right? Now think of this. Think of this. First of all, a couple of young women took over the microphone from Bernie a month ago, right? They took it over and he was like this, huh? He is not stopping ISIS, I will tell you. And Hillary is not stopping ISIS, I can tell you that. So Hillary's running for a lot of reasons. One of them is because she wants to stay out of jail. Because I am sure, and first of all, everybody gets a fair shake with me, but I am sure whoever the Attorney General is, you got a lot of years left on that crime. That's a crime. Did you read about Starbucks? No more Merry Christmas on Starbucks. No more. I wouldn't buy. Hey, look, I'm speaking against myself. I have one of the most successful Starbucks in Trump Tower. Maybe we should boycott Starbucks. I don't know. Seriously. I don't care. By the way, that's the end of that lease, but who cares? Who cares? Who cares? But today, a big story that Starbucks is taking Merry Christmas off. No more Merry Christmas. I will tell you, lots of big things, lots of little things. You can call this anything you want. But if I become president, we're all going to be saying Merry Christmas again. That I can tell you. That I can tell you.
All right, guys, so there you have it. Donald Trump suggesting that we should boycott Starbucks. That's the number 2 story. And in boycott of Donald Trump's statement, look what I have. A Starbucks cup. It's all red. There's nothing on it. Am I a bad person? You guys tell me in the chat room. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and play a few more clips from different presidential candidates as we await Vice President Joe Biden's arrival on stage at Clemson University. So we're going to go there momentarily, but first, let's listen on what Ben Carson told Fox Business Channel yesterday. Fox Business Network, network.
Well, first of all, we have to recognize that we don't have this glowing economy that many in the administration want you to believe we have. 5% unemployment rate. You can make that number anything you want by who you include and don't include. And obviously we should be talking about the labor force participation rate, which is at a 38-year low. Now, what we have to recognize is that this country possesses the most powerful economic engine the world has ever known. But it cannot function because we have so many regulations ramping around it, and we have a tax policy that it does not encourage entrepreneurial risk-taking and capital investment. So one of the things that I would do, first of all, to jumpstart the economy, is recognize that overseas we have over $2.1 trillion in American cash that will not come back with the kind of corporate tax rates we have. I would declare a holiday on that tax or encourage that so that we could repatriate that money. It's really been the political class that has managed to convince people that they're the only ones who can solve our problems, when in fact our system was designed for the citizen statesman, not for the career politician. Having said that, there is plenty of political experience in an academic medical center, particularly when you're appointed the director of pediatric neurosurgery at age 33, and pediatric neurosurgery is not on the map nationally. And you do what is necessary so that by 2008 it's ranked #1 in the United States. That requires a lot of ability to bring people together and to operate in a political atmosphere.
All right, guys, so I'm going to move on from some of the GOP debate preview clips because I'm going to play the rest of them a little bit later on when Ron Hoon and or Steve Kraft join me on the show. Plus, I want to get to some of our other top 5 stories before we go live to Clemson University, where Vice President Joe Biden is speaking. We're going to get to this number 3 story. 8-year-old girl caught with weed in the bathroom. Yeah, this is crazy. This is out of Ohio. I'm actually just going to play this story for you. This comes from our Fox affiliate in Ohio. It'll explain everything, but 8-year-old girl caught with weed in the elementary school bathroom. Pretty crazy. Allegedly, she was trying to light the drug when she was found. This is in Pataskala. I'm not really sure how to pronounce the name of the city, but it's in Ohio. It's either Pataskala. Let's find out how they say it in this news piece that was sent to us from Fox in Cleveland. They're the ones covering this story. Actually, we're just going to have to, we're going to just watch it off their website, actually. Stand by. Sorry, the screen is, hold on, let me see. I have to fix something. We're having some technical difficulties. So in the meantime, while I go ahead and fix this, I'm just going to show you the stage where Vice President Joe Biden will be speaking at in a few minutes. All right, guys, I think I have done the best I could in terms of fixing my technical issue. We are going to watch this story out of the Fox Cleveland website.
She's accused of trying to smoke it at school.
Well, now police and children's services are trying to figure out what to do about it. Police say the girl was caught in the bathroom of Pataskala Elementary. Fox 28's Rob Wells spoke with a family friend who says not so fast. Rob?
That's right, and Bob, family members of that little girl told me tonight by telephone they believe that yet another student actually planted the drugs on her, then told her what to do once she got to class here at Pataskala Elementary School. But one thing they all agree on is that they say she didn't know what she was doing, had no idea what was ahead. Neighbors who live nearby say they agree.
So very innocently, she lit it up and got in trouble, and the other little girl didn't get in trouble.
She didn't want to show her face, but is a neighbor of the 8-year-old accused of having marijuana inside a bathroom at Pataskala Elementary School.
I take her with me to church. The little girl, I go to church on Sundays, and I take the little girl to church.
She says that the girl was handed a marijuana cigarette and a lighter on the way to class. She thinks it was given to her by another student who lives nearby.
She got on the bus, and another little girl from Pataskala Green gave her the drug.
The girl's older sister says she was suspended for 10 days, but that was reduced to 3. Now, school officials are reviewing surveillance video from the girl's bus to see what may have happened.
It breaks my heart. She's only 8 years old. You don't know, like, what kids have nowadays. They have, like, weed or pot or guns. Like, you never know. Like, it's crazy out here.
And as far as police, they're being very tight-lipped about the investigation. Other than providing the report to us, just the basic nuts and bolts, that's about all that they're providing. But they said that this investigation itself is far from over. Live in Pataskala, Rob Wells, Fox 28 News.
Thank you, Rob. Right now.
Yeah, that in and of itself is a pretty crazy story. 8 years old is very young to be lighting up at school. And either way, regardless of the age, you probably shouldn't smoke weed at school. Just my thoughts. Moving on to this number 4 story, University of Missouri diversity training. As you guys know, there has been some racial tension at the university. Yesterday we watched live as the president of the university resigned. Football players saying they were going to protesting, saying they would actually not play in the football games. One of their fellow students was performing a hunger strike. I think he was on day 7 yesterday before the president of the university stepped down. Now, in response to all of the attention that the University of Missouri is getting, they are now going to be implementing diversity training along with some other changes. We have this story from Fox National. Let me pull it up for you right now. This was sent to us yesterday. Here it is. Give me a second. All right, guys, let's watch.
Please use this resignation to heal, not to hate, and let's move forward together for a brighter tomorrow.
Invoking scripture and taking full responsibility for the quote-unquote inaction that has occurred on his campus following reports of racial intimidation, University of Missouri President Tim Wolf buckled under mounting pressure and resigned as head of the largest university in the Show Me State, academic home to some 35,000 students. Members of Concerned Student 1950, the activist group that draws its name from the first year when blacks were admitted to Mizzou and which had campaigned for Wolf's ouster, welcomed it as a glimmer of hope, but declared their work against, quote, systems of oppression in patriarchal white male institutions is far from over.
Concerned Student 1950 demands an immediate meeting with UM System Faculty Council, Board of Curators, and the Governor of the State of Missouri to discuss shared governance and create a system of holistic inclusion for all constituents.
Wolf's fall was swift and dramatic, inconceivable before September, when reports of racial harassment at Mizzou began to surface. Over a month ago, the school announced diversity and inclusion training for all faculty, staff, and students. Over the weekend, however, nearly 36 black players on Mizzou's Division I football team vowed to boycott their games until Wolf was gone. And now that he is, the players have returned to practice.
Missouri is the home of Ferguson. And so what you have to understand is the level of racial unrest in the state, and especially among young people and specifically young black people in the state, is at a high level, maybe a high water mark in terms of history.
Hours after Wolf announced his resignation effective immediately, University Chancellor R. Bowen Lofton followed suit effective at year's end. The deans of 9 university departments had demanded Lofton's removal, citing a, quote, deep concern about the multitude of crises on our flagship campus. In Washington, James Rosen, Fox News. All right.
All right, guys, that's a wrap on that story. We're going to go back to Clemson University. We are waiting for Joe Biden to take the stage. Vice President Joe Biden should be speaking any minute. We'll be bringing that to you here live on Fox 10 News Now. All right, for those of you just joining us, we are waiting for Vice President Joe Biden to take the stage. Joe Biden will be speaking at Clemson University. All right, guys. While we still wait for Joe Biden, I'm going to go ahead and tell you a couple more stories. First of all, this last one, the former MLB pitcher who died at the age of 29 last night. This is a really sad story. Let me go ahead and pull up some video for you guys now. Tommy Hansen, 29 years old, played for the Atlanta Braves, also played for the Angels, I believe. I don't know if I'm allowed to play baseball videos, so I'm going to go ahead and just do a screenshot of this. I can show you. They sent this video, but there he is. This is the guy I am talking about. I went on Twitter this morning and saw that Tommy Hansen was trending, clicked on it, and learned that this 29-year-old former MLB pitcher had died. He had a lot of potential and then suffered a shoulder injury when he was with the Braves. That's what caused his career to sidetrack. He died last night after slipping into a coma. He suffered catastrophic organ failure on Monday, according to a local news station in Atlanta, and had been hospitalized since early Sunday morning. Now, Hansen was a 6'6", 220-pounder known for his amiable personality. He last pitched in the major leagues in 2013 with the LA Angels, and then spent nearly a month away from the club that year as he coped with the sudden death of his own stepbrother. He finished third in the National League Rookie of the Year voting back in 2009 when he won 11 games and posted a 2.89 earned run average for the Atlanta Braves. Now, the Braves president released a statement saying, "We are incredibly saddened to learn of Tommy's tragic passing. He was a favorite in the clubhouse and with their staff, and he will truly be missed by everyone in Braves country. Our thoughts are with his wife, family, former teammates, and friends." And in bullet point 6 news, since we don't have 6 bullet points, I didn't put it on the screen, but I just want to let you guys know today's my 1-year anniversary. 365 days ago, I walked into this Fox 10 newsroom to show you guys that as a brand new employee. And here we are, 365 days later with the launch of News Now. Many hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours of news told to you guys over the past, I don't know how many months. Because we didn't launch News Now the day I walked in. We launched it a few weeks later. But, yeah, at least 11 months of News Now. So thank you guys who've been watching us regularly. Those of us who found us a little bit later on but have stayed with us, I want to thank you guys. And in honor of my 1-year anniversary, I'm just going to drink this latte. All right, guys. Well, it looks like Vice President Joe Biden is pulling a Barack Obama. And by that, I mean he is late to his scheduled event appearance. Maybe since he didn't decide to run for president, he feels like he can act like president for a little bit. I don't know. So while we wait for Mr. Biden, VP Biden, to arrive, I am going to go ahead and play for you guys a couple other stories. How about that? Well, speaking of presidents, yesterday President Obama met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It was a pretty big deal because the two leaders hadn't met face-to-face in over a year. Obviously, there was a little bit of tension between the two leaders after President Obama's deal with Iran. Benjamin Netanyahu not too happy about that. We got a story from Fox National about U.S.-Israel relations. Going to play that for you now, and I'll be back with you guys in just a couple of minutes. Stand by while I go ahead and play this for you.
Even before their 2.5-hour-long meeting, the president and prime minister acknowledged the elephant in the room, that the Iran nuclear deal drove a huge wedge between them, but wouldn't keep them from moving forward together.
It's no secret that the prime minister and I have had a strong disagreement on this narrow issue. But we don't have a disagreement on the need to making sure that Iran does not get a nuclear weapon.
The controversial nuclear agreement, just one of several areas where the two leaders disagree. Among others, the growth of Jewish settlements and the lack of progress toward a two-state solution between Israelis and Palestinians, though Netanyahu said today he still supports the latter. But no issue has widened the gap like the Iran nuclear deal, a risky separation at a time when Iran and Russia are strengthening their partnership, including the recent sale of surface-to-air missiles to Tehran, all while ISIS spreads throughout Syria and Iraq.
I think this is a tremendously important opportunity for us to work together to see how we can defend ourselves against this aggression and this terror, how we can roll it back. It's a daunting task.
That task is even tougher because of the threadbare relationship between the two men.
It doesn't mean that they are the best of friends, but it does mean that they're able to work effectively together to advance the interests of the citizens of their countries.
Further complicating the relationship, months-old comments from the Prime Minister's choice for spokesman unearthed over the weekend. Ron Baratz, who said the president's criticism of Bibi's speech on Capitol Hill during the Iran debate was an example of, quote, modern anti-Semitism in liberal Western states, and said Secretary of State John Kerry's, quote, mental age doesn't exceed that of a 12-year-old. Comments that drew a strong rebuke from Vice President Biden.
There should be no tolerance for any member or employee of an Israeli administration referring to the President of the United States in derogatory terms. Period. 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 Period.
The Israelis are also said to be seeking a 10-year, $50 billion military aid package from the administration to better defend themselves against all enemies in the region. And that would certainly seem to make sense given that a U.S. naval commander recently said the Iranians have done very little to change their behavior since signing the Iran nuclear agreement back in July. At the White House, Kevin Cork, Fox News.
All right, guys. Speaking of international relations, why don't we go ahead and play this story about the Egypt plane crash and the latest in the investigation? Disregard the black
Consensus
screen.
continues to build towards terrorism bringing down that Russian plane. One U.S. official saying he's 90% certain it was an ISIS bomb. Another claims Russian officials being monitored are thinking the same. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says it seems reasonable that it was an act of terror. Even an Egyptian prober is leaning that way.
Again, based on the information that we've already learned, we at this point can't rule out the possibility of terrorist involvement.
While Egypt says an explosion was heard on the plane's voice recorder, further analysis will be needed to nail it as a bomb. It is said inspection of the wreckage for explosive residue could take at least a week. And Sharm el-Sheikh airport staffers are being grilled. Baggage handlers might have helped get the suspected bomb on the plane. This as the evacuation of foreigners from Egypt continues. The UK says it's gotten over 5,000 Britons out. Russia, some 25,000. Tourism possibly crippled.
I can tell you that before the incident, we were at about 92% occupancy, guests in house, doing quite well. Now here we are a week later, we're at 60% occupancy.
If it was a bomb, pressure will be on Egyptian security. Today, an alleged leader of ISIS was killed in Cairo. He was said to be tied to other bombings. There will also be focus on Russian President Vladimir Putin. As the 224 victims of the crash are honored, he could be cowed by blowback from his anti-ISIS campaign, or emboldened. And if it was the work of ISIS, pressure would be on U.S. security experts to safeguard airports from a new terror threat.
ISIS is probably not looking for a one-time event like
like this airliner here in the United States. I think they're looking for what Al-Qaeda was looking for, multiple events at the same time.
There's been a bit of confusion about the FBI's role in all of this. An FBI official tells us tonight that they are the ones who made an offer of assistance to Egypt and Russia to help them solve this deadly mystery. While those two countries have not rejected the offer, they haven't accepted it yet either, and the mystery remains. In London, Greg Boycott, Fox News.
Obviously, the issue with the Egyptian plane crash and all that may be brought up during tonight's debate. Obviously, tonight's debate on the Fox Business Network is supposed to focus on the economy, but you never know. The conversation could take a turn to other national and international affairs. Obviously, the Egypt plane crash being one of them. I know some of you guys in the chat room asked Steve Kraft about that yesterday when we spoke with him, and he felt like it would be a likely topic. Obviously, happened last week. Now this news that it was highly likely the result of a bomb, a terror issue. It wouldn't be surprising if the candidates on stage were either asked about it or somehow brought it up during the debate. What you guys are looking at right now is a time lapse of the debate stage itself. Thought I would show you this. This is a cool video sent to us from Fox National, just showing the setup for tonight's debate. And speaking of the economy, another big topic today, the fight for 15. I know there were protesters right here in Phoenix. I know there were people protesting in California. And we were even live when Bernie Sanders spoke at a protest in D.C., people protesting what they consider poverty pay. In fact, many of you may have missed it. The first time we played it, it was early. It was around 8:30. So what I'm going to try to do is find that for you and replay it while we wait for Mr. Joe Biden to arrive. Stand by, guys. Stand by. I found it. Oh, never mind. We're getting a live feed. Sorry, Bernie. You're going to get bumped for Rand Paul. We're going live to Rand Paul now, who's in Milwaukee speaking.
Knowledge
live.
and truth. We thank you for the gift of opportunity, the gift of choice, so that parents might choose.
Or, well, he's preparing to speak live. They're zooming in on him, but someone else is currently speaking. We will be hearing from Rand Paul momentarily.
And may we as a community, as a people, support whatever is best for the children whom you've given us. In that vein, bless this conversation, Lord. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Robinson, and thank you, Fairview Lutheran Church, for all your help. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Very good, very good. Welcome to Shining Star Christian School for our school choice discussion with United States Senator Rand Paul and panel of distinguished guests. How about a nice round of applause for our special guests today? Okay, before we get started, I just want to introduce you quick to a friend of mine. Aaron, could you come up here for a second? Okay, everyone, so this is my friend Aaron. Aaron, how old are you?
8.
Aaron is 8 years old, and who is your favorite team, Aaron?
Green Bay Packers.
All right, the Green Bay Packers. Great answer, great answer. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to talk for a minute about Aaron. It's fitting that Aaron is a football fan because Aaron is a fighter. Every day, Aaron battles a physical disability that actually makes it difficult for him to walk. Sometimes he has to come to school with a walker. But despite that, Aaron loves coming to school. He loves learning, loves hanging out with his friends, and loves his teachers. Friends, This is why we're here today. We're here today to talk about school choice, a program that gives families like Aaron's an opportunity to send their children to schools like Shining Star, where they can hear the message of the gospel while receiving a high-quality education. Just one more quick story about Aaron. So last year, for my birthday, Aaron comes up to me. He goes, "Mr. Maddock, I got something for your birthday." Aaron saved up his money, and he bought me this necklace with a cross on it. Now, no one has ever bought me a necklace before. I've never worn a necklace in my life, but I wear this necklace just about every day now. Friends, students like Aaron, this is why we're here today. We're here today. There's many other students here today as well. How about a big round of applause for all the students who have joined us here today for this discussion? Thank you, students, for coming this morning. And thank you, Senator Rand Paul. Thank you for coming to our school this morning and helping us elevate awareness about this very important program of school choice. So without further ado, please give a special welcome to United States Senator Rand Paul.
Thank you, and thank you for letting me be part of this. I grew up in a small town in Texas, about 13,000 people, and every morning when I got up, I loved going to school. My kids still say I'm kind of crazy because I tell them Monday morning's the best day of the week. You get to go to school. And but I loved learning, and I loved that the school was right there. I could ride my bike to school. It was a safe school, and it was a public school, but it was a good school. But not every kid in the country, I think, has that same opportunity. I went through public school through most of my education until I went off to college. But when I got to high school, we had things like calculus and physics, anatomy and physiology. We had a great education. But it isn't there for everybody. In fact, there are some schools in our country where the dropout rate's 50%. There are some schools where kids in the 8th grade aren't reading and writing. I think every kid has the potential, and I think every kid ought to get a choice. The thing is that if the school in your neighborhood's not good, maybe having the choice to go to another school ought to be your opportunity and your choice. And I don't understand why anybody would be opposed to choice, to letting people make a choice where they go. Now, some say, oh, well, we ought to do this, but we ought to restrict it only to secular schools, to schools that have no religion. The reason I object to that is that the people who say, well, we've got to restrict it to only non-religious schools, they make this argument. They say, oh, it's the government's money. Well, no, it's not. It's your money. Everybody pays taxes, and the government's holding on to it for a while, but it's your money. And the thing is, if somebody gives you back your money, you ought to have a choice. The other thing we ought to understand, though, is that while education's really important, so is the spirit. You know, fulfilling the spirit, being spiritually fulfilled, salvation, all of those things are incredibly important. And we talk about it all the time, how we're going to fix this problem or that problem. But if you have an empty person left at the end, you're not fixing anything. And so I personally think that I just, in fact, wrote a book called Our Prayers and the Presidents, and this isn't a solicitation. But in the book, we talked about how, you know, the fact that every one of our presidents, Republican or Democrat, have all had, faith that they relied on and providence that they relied on, and the belief that our rights come from our Creator and they precede all government. Every one of the presidents has had a semblance of that belief from the beginning to the end. So when we talk about separation of church and state, what we really wanted is we didn't want the government in our religion. We didn't want a state church, but we wanted the freedom to practice our religion. But nothing about the separation of church and state says that religious people can't be involved in government and shouldn't be involved in government. But I'm glad to be here today. I want to learn more about your school, what's working, what's not working, what we can do to get out of the way. One thing I want to finish with is I think that there is a revolution that is going to occur in education, and hopefully I'm hearing that some of it's already started. But the revolution is the Internet. And people say, oh, well, that's not new. That's been out forever. The Internet's been out there forever, but it hasn't really been fully utilized in education yet. mainly I think because the educational establishment has not wanted to allow new things to happen. The internet is an amazing tool and will equalize everyone and allow someone in the remotest part of either our country or another country to be connected to teachers. None of it's going to discount local teachers, but I'm the first one to admit I don't know everything about everything. And if I were teaching a course about biology, I may well want to stream in an online lecture from one of the greatest biologists of the time or one of the greatest physicians of all time. I think we would be building upon all of this if we were connected through the internet. The other thing about it is when we fully embrace the internet and the connectivity to other teachers, the price per pupil is going to go way down. And I've said this before to be provocative, but I think it's important to think about. We always talk about smaller and smaller classrooms, and I think that's good for having interaction with teachers. But in some ways, we'll do the reverse with this. We're going to have the person who understands and can explain physics better than anybody in the whole world explain it to millions of people simultaneously. But then you're still going to have a local teacher there to reinforce it and to explain it again. But why wouldn't we want to connect ourselves to sort of like the NFL or the NBA of teachers? And so I think there's a lot of good stuff coming on, and I think a lot of it's going to come from our connectivity through the internet. But we also have to have the freedom to choose. I'm very supportive of what you're doing, and I hope to learn today about some of the things that are working. Thank you very much.
Okay, why don't we have our panelists just give a little bit about themselves, about their organization, what school choice means to them. You okay starting on that end, Jamie, and working our way down?
Good morning. My name is Jamie Leering, and I have the privilege of serving as principal of Kettle Moraine Lutheran High School, which is located about 25 minutes northwest of here in the town of Jackson. I also, before serving at Kettle Moraine Lutheran, which is a suburban community, served here in the city of Milwaukee for 7 years at Hope Christian Schools. And the thing that connects both my time at Kettle and also my time at Hope is that school choice works for kids. It works for kids in urban settings. It works for kids in suburban settings. And I think that's because parents come to our schools because of results. The funny thing is everybody has a different idea about results and what they really mean to them. So some people come to Kettle Moraine Lutheran because we have a 24.8 ACT average, or our kids are outperforming the local, state, and national average in AP test scores, or it's because our seniors get $2.5 million in scholarships between just 100 of them. At Hope, it was our high school graduating seniors, 100% of them were accepted to college, and I believe they're on year 4 or year 5 consecutively of that happening. I saw 5 out there, year 5. It was also the fact that the achievement gap was being closed every year for students. There was growth of 2 years for kids in reading. Parents see these results and they want to be a part of it. But it's more than that. It's the Christian values that are taught. They want their kids to be a part of a safe, loving environment, just like these kids do, where they can come to school every day and they can learn and they can realize their hopes and their dreams. I do want to set one thing straight a little bit. Oftentimes people think that all the folks in the suburbs are rich. I serve at Kettle Moraine Lutheran, and we entered the Wisconsin Parental Choice Program this year, and we have 60 students who are receiving that voucher, 60 students that are able to come to our school that may not have had
All
that
right, guys, we're going
chance
to cut out of this
was it not
event
for that
now
voucher.
because
And
Joe
please
Biden
remember
has taken the stage at Clemson University. Let's go ahead and listen in on what our vice president is saying.
And then Strom, who I worked with for years, matter of fact, I did his eulogy when he passed away. He asked me whether I'd come and speak at the Strom Thurman Institute here at Clemson. And so I was at South Carolina, and I didn't fully appreciate how much you love each other. So I was on the campus at a big auditorium, about 1,500 students in South Carolina, and I was answering questions after my speech, and then I said, "I got to go now." And a kid yelled, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going to Tiger Paw country." Oh, God. There was absolute deafening silence. People actually started to turn around and walk out. So I never fully appreciated how seriously you take it here in South Carolina, but nonetheless, it's good to be back. The fact of the matter is, Eric, that captain of the #1 football team in the country, you're having a good year, old buddy. And I love watching you guys play. I really mean it. And I'm thankful. You know, I went to college to play football, and every time I look at y'all, I think, thank God I never faced anybody that big. You know, back in I was having this discussion with my staff coming back from the West Coast on Air Force Two, and they asked me, they said, how many guys when you played ball were 300 pounds? I said, there wasn't anybody in the pros but one in 1970. That's true, only one player in the entire, all the pros, one in 1970. It got to 8 in 1980. They're now 523. Guys like me would be dead by now if we were playing. But I look at you guys and I think of Syracuse. I think my guys should have stayed north instead of the SEC. But the only thing I can promise you on Saturday, because I'm a loyal guy, I will be wearing orange. That's the only thing I can promise. Syracuse's colors are orange too. I just want you. So I'll be wearing orange. And I want to give a shout out to Coach Sweeney, who's been a supporter of our efforts. And he wanted to be here today. He put together a program just full of nothing but character. As I said, I've spent a lot of time in this great state. A lot of great friends. Learned from two giants in the Senate, Hollings and Thurman. And one of my closest friends, I know you're not supposed to be, Democrats and Republicans aren't supposed to be friends these days, but that's not how I came up in the Senate. One of my closest friends in the Senate, and period, is Lindsey Graham. We don't agree on a damn thing, but we love each other. And now I also want you to know my head of my Secret Service, there's 140-some Secret Service agents I have, the head of the whole deal was a guy named Billy Davis. Now, Billy Davis played your 1981 national championship team. He was number 24. He's the guy that ran back the punt 47 yards to the Nebraska 22-yard line, setting up a field goal to put you over the top in the Orange Bowl that year. And I tease him that if he had stayed, in the outside, he would have scored a touchdown. But anyway, so I'm surrounded by an awful lot of good people who love this university, and it's a great university, and it's great to be here. Yesterday, I was at the Naval Academy. Later today, I'm headed into Morehouse College down in Atlanta, and then, as I said, tomorrow up to Syracuse, Thursday. But, you know, when historians look back to determine what kind of nation we were, how we treated the most defenseless among us will go a long way to measuring what kind of society we are judged to have been. When within that, there will be the question of how society dealt with sexual violence against women and some men. That's what I want to talk about today. I want to, particularly sexual violence on college campuses. You know, there's one area where we've not made enough progress since I drafted the Violence Against Women Act. I'm very proud to have drafted that because what's happened is violence against women in partner relationships where they know their other partner are down 64%, and overall down 58%. And the fact of the matter is that I brought the Violence Against Women office inside the White House. It's usually in the Justice Department. And I brought it inside the White House because the president asked me what did I want as vice president? How did I want to proceed? And I said, I want to still control the crime bill and the Violence Against Women Act because that's the proudest thing I've ever done. And you got to stay on top of it. So I brought inside the White House, and I asked the woman at the time who was heading this operation for me, who had worked on my Judiciary Committee years ago.
All right, guys, I'm going to cut out of that Joe Biden event. Though I want to stream the whole thing for you, we are actually going to have to shut down momentarily. We're taking care of some technical issues in the newsroom. So we'll be shutting down news now for the next 15, 20 minutes or so. But we'll be back up around 10:15, 10:20 hopefully. And we'll have more news now for you then. You guys can stay in the chat. We're going to be using the same stream. So if you want to keep talking to each other, you can stay right here in the same stream and just chat with each other until we return. And also be on the lookout for the tweet that announces that we are back on the air. So thanks for watching us throughout this last hour, and I will see you guys again in just a little bit. Thanks.